Why did Alex Albon do the Australian Grand Prix on one set of tyres? Alex Albon was at one with his C2 tyres at the Australian Grand Prix. He completed 57 out of the 58 laps around Albert Park on just the one tyre compound. So if tyres degrade over time and you must use two sets of tyres or face disqualification from the race, why would you not pit in the middle of the race? If you were running a marathon, you probably wouldn't take a break 1 mile before crossing the line, as it makes no sense. So let's dive into things. Let's have a quick reminder of the FIA regulations to do with tyres. Article 24 states, each driver must use at least 2 different specifications of dry weather tyres during a race. Failing to meet this will result in disqualification of the driver from the race. Albon was running in 7th on the penultimate lap and managed to generate a gap big enough to only drop to 10th position after pitting. You can thank Lance Stroll for holding up some of the drivers behind on this. We've seen Ocon do this at the Hungarian Grand Prix before, but on Inters, lasting the whole race, but this is something completely different on a dry weather tyre. The slow pit stop to help defend against Zhou when Albon came out the pit. Zhou didn't have a run on Albon into turn 1. The Melbourne Grand Prix used non-consecutive tyres for the first time since the Singapore Grand Prix in 2018. This is the first time we saw the softest C5 tyre in the Pirelli range. This C5 tyre was clearly not a popular race tyre, and only 1 lap out of the whole Grand Prix this weekend was done by guess who? Alex Albon. To show how unpopular this C5 tyre compound was, Fernando Alonso pitted for a set of mediums C3s after 39 laps. These mediums blistered straight away and provided awful grip for him. Alonso pitted with 4 laps to go and decided to put on the mediums again. He had nothing to lose really, ending up at the back of the grid, and would have at least tried to do a fastest lap attempt. This tyre selection was interesting before the weekend for strategy, but turned into a boring medium and hard one-stop race. Compared to Bahrain, I think the choice of different tyres made this race much more interesting for strategy. Let's quickly go over degradation before going into Albon's strategy. The hard tyre can expect low degradation, but you don't expect to set very fast times on this tyre. As you can see, as the number of laps increases, you expect your time to slowly increase. Compared to the hards, a soft tyre has a much quicker starting time, but the degradation is a lot faster. When you get to this stage, when it starts to be slower than a different tyre, you would pit and put on another tyre to gain this faster lap advantage. So with all that in mind, what were Williams engineers doing keeping Albon out for 57 laps? Albon actually matched the pace with Ocon and Ricciardo with 20 lap older tyres towards the end of the race, and he actually set his personal best at the end of the stint with the hards. Albon actually said that the C2 hard tyres were only getting better with time, and I think he would obviously been happy to complete the race on one set if there wasn't the 2 tyre rule. But he clearly wouldn't have been in this position, as if everyone had done the same he would have been much further back, and he joked about qualifying on this tyre next race weekend. So let's have a look at Alex Albon's race strategy. He started the race on the hard tyre compounds. On lap 3, Carlos Sainz caused the virtual safety cars to come out. He wouldn't have pitted on this after only doing 3 laps on this hard tyre, and he stayed out. Lap 24 caused the full safety car to come out. I still think with over half the race to go, this was too early to pit, but his engineers probably did question whether this would have been a good time to put on new tyres. Up to then, his tyres kept getting better and better, and then under the virtual safety car in lap 40, I think his engineers would have questioned whether that was the right time to pit, but he seemed to be really happy with his tyres. They were probably holding out for another safety car. By the time he got to lap 57, he had no choice but to pit and put on the softs to mandate the 2 tyre rule. I think the engineers were probably hoping he could get a full safety car to come out around this area, but in the end, he's still got a point for Williams. This ended up being a blinding strategy for Williams. I think he could have gained even more positions if he managed to pit under a full safety car towards the end of the race, but he still managed to gain a vital point for Williams in the scrap at the bottom of the constructors. He actually set his fastest lap on lap 54, which just shows how much better he was improving over time on that tyre. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you could like and subscribe to the channel. I'm looking to upload as much content as possible, and all the support to this channel helps massively. Thank you.